5:30. On this meeting of the board, select board, town of Manchester by the Sea, to order. Jeff,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy, Ann says yes.
John,
and Al
yes.
says yes.
He does.
Okay, the two items on our agenda are to finalize and sign the special meeting warrant. And then make board recommendations on the warrant articles. Oddly enough, the paper that I got had all of our opinions already on it.
Great kind of free.
Oh, is there a new
Refilled
version?
version.
I have not looked in the last few hours.
No, the select board recommends approval on,
Maybe I could look at the right copy.
Yeah, this was what, 2 hours, 3 hours ago? It was.
Warrant updates, okay.
Okay. right. Article, we also,
Not here. Wrong me.
we were also encouraged to think about who wants to speak on which articles. So Article 1, which is to place and on file reports to the town boards. Is there any discussion of that? Okay. So, so we agreed to approve, to recommend approval. Article 2, everyone's favorite.
Excuse me. And we need a mover and seconder.
Okay,
I'll move.
I'll second. We may rearrange this as we go through this.
yeah.
I couldn't tell who was going to move.
Kathy's going
Kathy's
to move.
moving, John is second.
The audio is really terrible here. So if
Okay.
you could speak one at a time and speak up, that would be helpful.
Okay,
That's about as far as I can get.
okay,
We go further. There
Can
you
you
go.
hear us?
Pull out a plug.
I can hear you not well.
okay, Article 2. Which is, I will move,
Second.
Is that Brian second?
Yeah.
yeah,
Jeff?
Article 3. The North Shore Agricultural and Technical School, Jeff is going to move,
I'll second.
Brian's will second. To see what sum of money the town will raise, Article 4, what sum of money the town will raise.
Traditionally, the chair of the select board moves that and the chair of the finance committee seconds.
Okay, that would be fine. To see if the town will vote for, various, capital items. Is there any discussion on this? I have a small question. I don't understand why number 20, the shellfish study comes out of harbor funds. And I don't really understand why fund balance is paying for boat replacements.
So there was desire to not spend down the waterway fund for all the boat, just because of the desire to keep monies in there for dredging. And for the shellfish study, I think it was just a relatively small number that they felt was okay to come out of the waterway fund.
How much trouble would it be to have that come out of fund balance?
Not much trouble at all.
Unless there's some reason why the shellfish study is important to the harbor management. I would like to make that change.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Well, the finance committee, hopefully, I don't think they would have a disagreement with that?
Okay. If not, we can arrange a joint meeting before town meeting and fight over $15,000,
Right, yeah,
which is F.
yep.
Okay, who would like to move the capital budget?
I'll move it.
Traditionally, that's the same,
Sarah?
Okay,
the chair of the select board moves and the chair of the finance committee seconds.
okay, fine.
And
That's Sarah.
Sarah.
Okay. Article 6 is the school. And that ends up being several motions. Does the school committee school committee chair or the superintendent normally? The school committee chair normally move that?
Yeah, so it would be the school committee chair, since the school committee chair is now a Manchester resident.
Mhm. I will second.
Okay,
Article 7 is the floodplain. And this is one of these planning board articles. Do we have Sarah Creighton move it?
I haven't heard from Sarah who she wants to be the movers and seconders. I will be in touch with her for that,
Okay, so we can assume
on all the zoning articles.
all the zoning articles, fine.
So,
Do we have, is there any discussion on any of the planning board articles? Okay,
Do any members of the select board want to be recognized to speak on any of the planning board articles?
I don't think so.
No.
I,
Okay, no, thank you.
No.
Okay, moving right along.
moving right along to page,
So are you comfortable with with recommending approval for all the zoning articles?
What was that again, Greg?
are we comfortable approving all of these articles?
Yes. Okay.
On page 14. Thank you. This is oddly set, but essentially these are the things that you can use outdoor water for if there is a water ban.
Sorry.
Or 15,
15.
Article 14 on page 15.
Article 14.
How does this differ from what we have?
We don't define it this way. We're very, we really don't have any definition of what a restriction means. And we've gotten tripped up over that over the years. And so the state recommends that you do a standard set of allowances, and everything else is prohibited.
So this is language from the state, basically, as well.
That's
Yeah.
right. This is state language that they recommend we use.
You froze up for a minute.
This is the state language that they recommend that we use.
This will be consistent event at some point throughout the Commonwealth
Correct.
as the state starts to make its
Okay,
tentacles.
so just a clarification on the item E, which talks about businesses meeting their core functions. That's a list, but it's not limited to that list. So for example, it doesn't include marinas who need to wash boats or flush engines, that kind of thing. But that would still be allowed because that's a core function of those
I
businesses.
think it's under A too, but it's, that's right.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
It's under A, but that could be personal or
That
business.
could be personal business. I just want to make sure
Provides
it's not
money.
impacting the marina,
Yeah,
excuse me, boatyards.
Right, so yes, that would come under that general heading and that you could make that clarification if it was necessary.
hmm
So I think the only other question I have
It's left.
on this
Yeah.
one is typically when we've enacted water bans the past couple of years, we have allowed drip irrigation. Is that in here?
Only for public use. And for somewhere there's,
I think it talks about new plantings that
yes, it
that can
does.
drip.
Sorry.
Irrigation is necessary to maintain gardens. On 3, under,
Mhm.
E3.
E3, oh, okay.
And
Venue
it-
used for weddings, similar events. It doesn't, I didn't say that that was for private homeowners. It seemed to be for businesses.
Mhm.
So private homeowners who have drip irrigation would not be allowed to use that. Or if we are in a water ban situation.
So again, you're allowed to put additional clarifications on a case-by-case basis. But this sort of is the starting point as the standard allowances.
How important is it that we actually do this at this meeting? Because I think
This needs discussion.
this, first it's written inside out.
Yeah.
So the deadline is supposed to be this, I forget it was May or June. But, you know, I'm not losing sleep over this one. You know,
But you won't be here, Greg, so we want to understand. Well, this is-
That's why you're not losing any sleep on this.
I guess that doesn't work so well, does it?
I mean, what's the worst that can happen? They turn off our water?
They could issue a fine to the town. I guess I'd be more comfortable with you adopting it and then amending it if we need to later.
But I don't want everyone's plants to die all summer.
Right. And yeah, I would feel more comfortable if we have to put something in this article for this town meeting, because it's the meeting before the summer. I would feel more comfortable if we took the language that we enacted, last year or the year before when we had the drought. What did we allow then? So that there's basically no change until we have a time, time to look into it a little more. I remember we specifically, called out, being able to flush your engine if you're a boat owner or the boat yards. We talked about drip irrigation being allowed and handheld watering, and that was for.
And
Property
watering
owners.
between hours of,
Yes, that's right. We had specific hours. So it's not during the middle of the day. But if we have to do something, I would prefer to.
okay, could we amend it on the floor?
But we can amend it now.
Okay,
If you want to add some language that allows the private use of drip irrigation, then let's add that and put that as the proposal.
Or you could have a motion on the floor that is different from the article. And that'll give you until April to figure it out. I would be hard pressed to rule that any reasonable motion was not within the scope of the article.
not happy trying to come up with language sitting here.
Yeah. I
Okay.
kind of agree, we have to do something before the summer, but I prefer it.
That way, it was a concern. Last year, the drip came up.
Okay,
It did come up.
are there two people who would like to work on alternate wording between now and?
Yeah, I'll work on something. It's water.
I'll work with you.
Okay.
Okay, so, we can probably say,
So
that- go ahead, yeah, go.
sorry,
Alan,
for now, I'll assume that John will move and Kathy will second whatever the motion turns out to be.
So,
Yes,
Now, if I may for a moment, can I just take off my moderator's hat and put on my well owner's hat? Can I assume that these regulations would apply to users of the town's water supply and not to wells?
That's correct.
Thanks.
I thought that our Board of Health had a regulation in that.
No, they dropped that part of it.
oh, they did. It
Oh,
was-
good.
It was in there, I think, at one point.
It was in there and it made absolutely no sense.
Oh,
Yes. Okay, so
all right. So-
as you're drafting, include language that exempts people with wells from,
So is this going to be in the article or is this going to be an amendment on the floor?
Alan, how do you prefer?
It will be the main motion on the floor. Not an amendment to the article. We
Okay, so we
can't
need to
amend
do
the
this
article.
soon.
Yeah, before we sign.
Yeah, we need to do this in the next couple of days, 2 days.
I
No,
know,
you
That's
you
not
can
what-
you can
that's
you
not-
can you can sign the warrant as it is, and you can
Yeah.
present a somewhat different motion on the floor.
Okay, all right, that's an amendment or a different motion.
It's a different motion.
Okay, fine.
So we might want to create a handout for our new language and present that, include that in the material for
Yes.
town meetings.
It's not going to change things much here, but it will be a significant.
Because you're going to print when?
We got to print next week. So,
You need to print the warrant next week, not the handouts.
That's right.
correct.
so we don't need the new language in the next 4 days.
Yeah.
No,
When,
No.
to be specific, by when do you need the new language?
New language would be great if you could approve it at your meeting at the 7th.
April 7th, okay, great, we can do
yep.
it, thank you.
Okay. Article 15 is the community preservation. Is there any general discussion? Any questions?
Mobility map for Singing Beach, don't we have one of those?
Yes. Yeah, this is additional.
You're gonna extend it out.
Extend it further out.
Okay,
I think it's gonna go perpendicular to the one that got implemented.
okay.
Right, this is going sort of out to the water, and then this would parallel the beach.
Okay. Brian, you haven't moved a lot of things,
All right, move this.
okay,
Second.
fine. Brian and Jeff.
Alan, does somebody from the CPC sometimes talk on this?
They usually don't.
Okay.
Would you like to?
I'm looking to Brian now.
I have no interest.
Okay.
Unless we hear from the CPC.
Yeah, I mean, if Jack wants to speak to it,
Oh, yeah,
He usually doesn't want to speak, but he gives me a list of CPC members to answer questions on each item.
Okay.
okay. Article 16 is OPEB. Do we know when the OPEB will be, when our last payment is due?
We have 2.5 more years.
2.5 points. Okay,
That's pretty smooth.
That's really good.
that's really good. Okay, Kathy, you want to
Sure.
move this and I'll second it?
And I don't think it needs a speaker unless people have questions, but they haven't for several years.
If anybody wants somebody to talk, I'll be glad to talk, but Article 17 is the Hero Act for veterans that allows certain veterans to reduce the increase in their property, reduce their property taxes. It's really good if you were fought in the First World War. But I believe for modern veterans, it really applies to disabled veterans.
So this wouldn't cover any wars after that? What?
Oh, it covers wars after that, but there are sections that say specifically veterans of this conflict or that conflict are all allowed. And other veterans are under specific conditions, like you've lost a leg or both legs.
But this doesn't apply to all veterans. You've got to be a certain category.
You've got to be a certain category.
Or disabled.
Disabled is a category, yes, yes.
I'll make a motion on that.
Okay, so Jeff will move and John will second.
second.
John will second.
Yep.
I think, Jeff, you don't need to speak on it, just if there are questions. Unless you want to.
I don't have to, I don't want to, but
Yeah, gotta be ready.
yeah, I'll brush up on it, I guess.
Or maybe Greg, if there are questions at you.
Yeah, or the assessors will be prepared to answer questions as well.
Okay,
Either Michelle Mason Forte as the lead assessor or one of the elected assessors or appointed assessors.
Mhm.
So was that Article 17?
That was Article 17.
17.
18 is the, I always get these wrong, revolving funds for the Parks and Rec and the Board of Health. Brian?
I'll move.
I'll second.
and there usually are no questions on this.
Mhm. Article 19, which is citizens petition. Brian,
Yeah, it's mine. so I might
Yes,
as well-
yours.
I own it, so I might as well own it. Yeah, it's mine.
Kathy, with you, seconds.
And Brian, I think you should probably be prepared to speak on this.
Yes, yes.
And as I'm sure you know, this is advisory only. The town
I'll
meeting
make-
doesn't have any authority to repeal a Board of Health regulation.
Yes, we found out later after the fact, yes.
Okay,
An exercise anymore, that I won't do.
Article 20 is the citizens petition that I started, and I will move it.
I'll second.
Jeff will second. And I would like to speak briefly on it. Because it's not at all clear what it does.
I'm still, and you explained it, so.
It's Article 20.
who was the seconder on 20?
That's me.
Jeff.
Okay. And that one, 20 is also, well, we have a motion from town council, which I will rule is within the scope. It's pretty significantly different from the article, but close enough that I think it's okay. Town council's sense is that the Attorney General will probably reject it because there is a comprehensive statewide scheme.
We are asking for legislation, home rule legislation, to allow us to ignore that, which other towns have done.
Well, I'm just telling you what town council has said. She thinks the Attorney General will reject it because there is a comprehensive statewide scheme that would preempt local regulation, but that's not her, that's not my opinion, that's hers.
Article 21, which was changing, the, construction noise. I believe that the original petitioner has agreed to withdraw it.
I think that's her plan. I've had several conversations with her. She was there. Part of the background there is that there's a state law that would limit the penalty for this to much less than she would like.
Mhm.
And therefore she thinks it's probably not worth it.
Okay,
I don't have, I don't have a definitive answer on that, though. I think she's gonna move to pass over, but I'm not sure.
We have to print it out on the warrant because it's submitted,
yes.
not withdrawn.
Mhm.
Yeah, once it's submitted, I don't think you can.
You can't.
That's right.
Okay. Article 22 is to move funds around to affect the tax rate. We always have this. John, why don't
Yeah.
you?
I will. This is in case we vote for something different than
Yeah.
what's going on in the warrant. Sure.
So almost always this is passed over, but
Yeah.
do we have a second?
Kathy says she'll second. Okay,
Now, I guess for that, there's nothing that we need to do, Kathy, or there, because we don't know.
Greg will speak to that if it has to. be
Yes, I
spoken
guess
to.
so.
Or maybe Sarah Mel, but
For Sarah Mellors, yeah.
It's only necessary if we change an appropriation.
Just did it.
And the fact that we have excess levy capacity, we even don't, we can still ignore it if the voters wish.
Right.
okay, I think we've agreed that we will support all of the articles.
Mhm.
There.
Well, just on the petition articles,
Mhm.
so so you support the tobacco rescission,
Okay.
you support the rodenticide, what about the construction noise?
Okay, why don't we, yeah, you're right, that says not approving. So, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
And 22, we will make our
Yeah, from the-
recommendation when we know what we're facing.
Yep.
Okay. I assume that if there are general questions, they will go to Greg. If someone who is moving an article wants to say something, would you let Alan know as soon as possible?
Yeah, Alan, I'll talk about Essex Tech if we need to, but.
So only if there are questions, Jeff, or do you want to speak on it?
What do you think? Do you think I should?
Better.
I can't remember ever having a question about it. So unless you want to speak, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, if someone has a question, I'll answer it, but.
Yep. If you change your mind and you decide you want to speak to it briefly, just let me know.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
Greg, is there anything, Greg, Alan, is there anything else we need to do tonight?
I don't think so.
No, I think you're in good shape.
We have to formally take a vote to memorialize these recommendations or.
Sure, why don't,
I, just asking.
why don't you,
I move that we approve, recommend approval of all of the warrant articles except for number
16.
21.
what, yes,
21 is the one that's against state law.
Yeah.
Everything else, I believe, was, we recommended approval.
Right, 20 is the,
20 is the road at the side.
I can't see it. I can't blow on something.
So I move that we recommend approval for all of these warrant articles except for Article 21.
And that number 22, you'll make your recommendation from the floor.
And for Article 22, we will make the recommendation.
Second,
John,
Yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy, Brian,
Yes.
and Jeff.
yes.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
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 thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Enjoy
Thank you.
babysitting.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know.